I still remember the warmth of my grandmother Aurora's smile, the sparkle in her blue eyes like a summer sky on a cloudless day, and the comfort of her hugs that could heal any pain. To me, she was an open book, a woman whose life seemed as transparent as the crystal-clear waters of the lake we'd visit every summer. Her laughter was contagious, her wisdom a guiding light in my life. I cherished every moment we spent together, listening to her stories, learning from her experiences, and basking in the love she generously shared. But life has a way of surprising us, doesn't it? Sometimes, it takes an event as profound as death to shatter our perceptions and unravel the very fabric of our understanding. When Grandma Aurora passed away, I felt like a part of me had been torn away. The house, once filled with her vibrant presence, suddenly seemed empty and silent. It was during the process of sorting through her belongings, a task that felt both sorrowful and therapeutic, that I stumbled upon something that would change everything. Hidden in an old wooden box, tucked away in a corner of her attic, was a worn leather-bound diary. The cover was embossed with a simple lock, a symbol that seemed almost prophetic given the secrets it held within. As I gently opened the diary, the yellowed pages crackled with age, releasing a whisper of the past into the present. The handwriting, familiar yet strange, danced across the pages in a rhythm that seemed to echo Grandma Aurora's heartbeat. The moment I began to read, a wave of emotions washed over me. Shock, curiosity, and a deep sense of loss mingled with the realization that I had only known a fraction of my grandmother's story. This diary was more than just a collection of pages, it was a gateway to a life I thought I knew but had never truly understood. As I delved deeper into the diary's secrets, I discovered a life marked by love, loss, and resilience. Grandma Aurora's story was one of extraordinary courage in the face of adversity, a forbidden love that defied the conventions of its time, and a mystery that spanned generations. It was a tale of sacrifice, of hidden treasures, and of the enduring power of love to transcend time and circumstance. Over the coming hours, I invite you to journey with me through the pages of Grandma Aurora's hidden diary. It's a story that will take us through the highs and lows of a life lived fully, a life that was both like and unlike the one I thought I knew. It's a story about the complexities of family, the weight of secrets, and the unyielding strength of a woman who lived through it all with grace and dignity. As we embark on this journey, I warn you, the revelations will be profound, the emotions raw, and the insights into the human condition, transformative. You may find yourself reflecting on your own family's stories, your own secrets, and the love that binds us all together. So, let's begin, shall we? Let's turn the pages of Grandma Aurora's diary and uncover the secrets she's kept hidden for 70 years. A story of love, of loss, and of the legacies we leave behind. A story that starts here, in the quiet moments following her passing, and unfolds into a rich tapestry of memories, emotions, and ultimately, truth. In the late 1930s, nestled in the heart of America, lay the small rural town of Willow Creek. A place where time seemed to stand still, where the air was sweet with the scent of blooming wildflowers, and the sky stretched out in endless blue. It was a community where everyone knew each other's names, where children played freely in the streets, and the sound of laughter echoed through the valleys. At the edge of town, on a modest farm, lived the family of Aurora. Her parents, Emma and James, worked tirelessly from dawn till dusk, their hands etched with the lines of hard labor and their hearts full of love for their children. Thomas, Aurora's older brother, was a young man with a passion that rivaled the stars. He dreamed of flying, of soaring through the skies and touching the clouds. Lily, on the other hand, was a poet in the making, with a soul as delicate as a feather and a heart that swelled with emotion at the simplest things. Aurora, in her early 20s, was a dreamer. She had a mind full of wonder, a heart full of love, and a spirit that yearned for something more. She loved to read, getting lost in the pages of old novels and imagining worlds beyond the fields of Willow Creek. Under the shade of an oak tree, with the soft rustle of leaves above her, Aurora would sit for hours, her nose buried in a book, her imagination running wild. The day began before the sun rose high. The family would gather for a simple breakfast, followed by a day of work on the farm. The mornings were a dance of chores and duties, with the sound of birds chirping and the smell of fresh earth filling the air. School was a short walk away, and for Aurora and Thomas, it was a place of learning and growth. Lily, being younger, would spend her days playing in the fields, chasing after butterflies, and making friends with the creatures of the farm. As the day waned, the family would gather on the porch, watching the stars twinkle to life. These were moments of quiet contentment, with Emma strumming a gentle melody on her guitar, and James telling tales of his own childhood. It was in these moments that Aurora felt a sense of peace, a sense of belonging. Yet, amidst the simplicity and the beauty of her life, there was a stirring within her, a sense of restlessness that she couldn't quite explain. She would often take walks through the woods, feeling the breeze on her face, and the sun's warmth on her skin. It was on these walks that Aurora felt most alive, most connected to the world around her. She'd collect leaves, watch the river flow, and let her thoughts wander. In these quiet moments, Aurora began to feel a pull, a sense of longing for something beyond the familiar rhythms of her life. As the seasons changed, and the years slipped by, Aurora's sense of yearning grew. It wasn't a discontentment with her life, but a hunger for more, for experiences beyond the borders of Willow Creek. This was a subtle stirring, something she didn't fully understand herself. Yet, it was this quiet discontent that would one day set her on a path of discovery, of love, loss, and ultimately, of writing down the secrets she kept hidden for 70 years. In Willow Creek, everyone knew the Smiths, the Watsons, and the Jenkins. They'd gather on Sundays for picnics by the river, and the air would be filled with laughter and the smell of barbecue. It was a simple, beautiful life, untouched by the storms that brewed beyond the horizon. But for Aurora, there was a world beyond the creek, a world she couldn't quite reach but felt with every fiber of her being. The peace of Willow Creek was a balm to her soul, but it was also a quiet cage. And as she grew, Aurora began to feel the stirrings of a desire to fly, to soar beyond the fields and forests she loved. Little did she know, her life was about to take a dramatic turn, one that would test her strength, her heart, and her very soul. But for now, in the stillness of the evening, with her family by her side, Aurora felt at peace, nestled in the love and simplicity of her world. As the summer of 1939 waned, the warmth of the sun-baked fields and forests of Willow Creek began to give way to a sense of unease. News of the war in Europe, which had seemed a distant rumble just months before, started to seep into the daily lives of the townspeople like a chill on an autumn morning. Radio broadcasts, once filled with music and light-hearted news, now carried grave announcements and urgent warnings. The voices of news anchors, usually cheerful and familiar, sounded increasingly somber, their words punctuated by the static of uncertainty. In the homes of Willow Creek, families gathered around the radio, their faces aglow with the soft light of the dial, as they listened to the unfolding events with a mix of disbelief and concern. Thomas, Aurora's brother, would often excitedly recount tales of adventure and heroism from the war, his eyes sparkling with a romanticized view of the conflict. Her parents, however, exchanged worried glances, their expressions etched with concern for their family's safety and livelihood. The war seemed a far-off storm, but its winds were beginning to whisper through their quiet lives. Aurora, caught between her brother's thrill and her parents' worry, felt her own perceptions shifting. She began to see the world through different eyes, her romantic dreams now tinged with a growing awareness of the fragility of peace. The brutal reality of war, with its echoes of hatred and violence, jarred her into questioning the very fabric of the world she thought she knew. As she walked through the familiar fields and woods, the beauty of nature still stirred her soul, but it was no longer enough to keep her anchored in a world that seemed to be unraveling. It was on one of these walks, lost in thought, that Aurora first saw him, a young man in a military uniform, standing at the edge of the forest. He was unlike any of the local boys. There was a quiet confidence about him, a sense of purpose that seemed to command attention without seeking it. Their eyes met, and for a moment, time stood still. Aurora felt a spark of curiosity, a sense of being seen that she couldn't quite explain. As the days passed, the stranger became a more frequent presence in town. His name was Elias, and he carried himself with an air of mystery. The local girls whispered about him, speculating on his past and his reasons for being in Willow Creek. Aurora, however, felt drawn to him in a way she couldn't understand. There was a depth to his eyes, a sense of stories untold, that both intrigued and unsettled her. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the town in a warm orange glow, Elias appeared at the edge of Aurora's family's property. He stood there, his uniform a stark contrast to the peaceful landscape, and asked if he might have a word with her. The request was simple, but the air seemed to vibrate with unspoken meaning. "Aurora," he said, his voice low and smooth, "I've been wanting to meet you. Your name is often mentioned in conversations around town." The words were innocent enough, but there was something in his tone that made her heart skip a beat. As they walked among the trees, the sound of crickets and the rustle of leaves filling the air, Elias told her stories of far-off places and the people he'd met. His eyes sparkled with a sense of adventure, but there was also a hint of melancholy, a sense of burdens carried. Aurora listened, entranced, feeling the world expand around her. For the first time, she saw her town, her life, through someone else's eyes. Elias spoke of the world's turmoil with a frankness that both scared and exhilarated her. As the night deepened, their conversation flowed easily, like a river finding its way through familiar terrain. Yet, even as she felt a connection forming between them, a sense of danger lingered, like the shadow of a storm cloud on the horizon. Elias seemed to carry a secret, a mission that went beyond the simple duties of a soldier. And as their paths continued to cross in the days that followed, Aurora couldn't shake the feeling that his presence in her life was about to draw her into a web of love and war, where the lines between right and wrong were perilously intertwined. The peace of Willow Creek was about to be shattered, and Aurora's life, once a tranquil stream, was on the cusp of becoming a turbulent sea, filled with choices that would define her future and test the very limits of her heart. As I turned the pages of Grandma Aurora's diary, the words seemed to whisper secrets in my ear, transporting me to a time when love and war entwined like the tender shoots of a vine on a rustic trellis. The summer of '42 was a season of contradictions. The sun-kissed fields of Willow Creek, where wildflowers swayed gently in the breeze, stood in stark contrast to the dark clouds of war that loomed on the horizon. It was against this backdrop that Aurora's romance with Elias blossomed, a beacon of hope in a world torn apart. Their meetings became more frequent, always clandestine, as if the very act of being seen together could conjure danger. The old barn on the outskirts of town, with its weathered boards and rusty farm tools, became their sanctuary. The air inside was thick with the scent of hay and the soft murmur of their conversations. It was there, under the barn's creaky roof, that Elias shared tales of his travels, of cities bustling with life and landscapes that stretched as far as the eye could see. Aurora listened, entranced, her heart pounding in her chest like a drumbeat in a primitive dance. But Elias's stories were not just of adventure and wonder, they were also laced with a hint of melancholy, a sense of purpose that seemed to weigh heavily on his shoulders. It was as if he carried the world's sorrow in his eyes, a look that both drew Aurora in and pushed her away. She couldn't help but feel that there was more to Elias than he let on, that beneath his rugged exterior lay a depth she was only beginning to fathom. One evening, as they sat together in the barn, the sun dipping below the horizon like a fire slowly extinguished, Elias took Aurora's hand in his. His touch sent shivers down her spine, a sensation that was both exhilarating and terrifying. It was a moment of pure connection, one that seemed to transcend the chaos around them. In that instant, Aurora knew she was deeply in love with Elias, a feeling that both thrilled and terrified her. But their love was not without its costs. Elias's presence in Willow Creek was not a coincidence. He was on a mission, one that he had been reluctant to share with Aurora. As they sat together, watching the stars twinkle to life in the night sky, Elias revealed the truth. He was a German scientist, a deserter from a regime he could no longer stomach. He had come to Willow Creek in search of an artifact, a powerful encryption device that had the potential to change the course of the war. The artifact, Elias explained, was hidden in a secret labyrinth beneath the old church, a labyrinth that had been crafted by his mentor, a brilliant clockmaker. The clockmaker, it turned out, had been more than just a craftsman. He had been a visionary, one who had seen the darkness that lay ahead and had taken steps to ensure that the knowledge he had gained did not fall into the wrong hands. As Elias spoke, Aurora felt her world expanding, the boundaries of her small town and her own life stretching to encompass the complexities of war and love and sacrifice. She knew that by staying with Elias, she was putting herself in danger, but she couldn't bring herself to leave. The diary became her confidant, a place where she poured out her fears and her hopes. The days turned into weeks, and the presence of Nazi agents in Willow Creek became more overt. They walked among the townspeople, their eyes scanning the crowds as if searching for someone. Aurora saw them, their faces bland and unassuming, but their eyes cold and calculating. She felt a growing sense of paranoia, a feeling that the town she loved was no longer safe. It was during one of their secret meetings, in a sunflower field that stretched towards the sky like a sea of gold, that Elias told Aurora about the labyrinth. The sun beat down on them, warming the earth and the air with its gentle rays. As they walked through the field, the flowers towering above them, Elias explained that they would have to go into the labyrinth to retrieve the artifact. The thought sent a shiver down Aurora's spine, but she knew she had to do it. For Elias, for herself, and for the future they both wanted. The journey into the labyrinth was not an easy one. They had to navigate through narrow passages, the air thick with dust and the smell of age. The walls were cold to the touch, adorned with ancient symbols that seemed to whisper secrets to those who dared to listen. As they made their way deeper into the earth, the sound of dripping water echoed through the passages, a reminder that they were not alone. Aurora's heart pounded in her chest, a mix of fear and excitement coursing through her veins. She had never felt so alive, so connected to the world around her. The diary, her faithful companion, captured every moment, every emotion, as if it too understood the significance of their journey. As they reached the heart of the labyrinth, a chamber filled with the soft glow of luminescent mushrooms, Elias found the artifact. It was an encryption device, one that looked deceptively simple but held the power to change the course of history. The moment they retrieved it, Aurora knew that their lives would never be the same. They had crossed a threshold, one that led them into a world of danger and uncertainty, but also into a deeper understanding of themselves and each other. The artifact in hand, they made their way back to the surface, the world outside seeming both familiar and strange. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the town. They knew they had to leave, to get as far away from Willow Creek as possible, but for now, they just stood there, holding each other, the weight of their decision settling around them like a mantle. In that moment, Aurora realized that she had transformed, that she was no longer the passive observer of her life but an active participant. The love she shared with Elias had become her strength, a beacon that guided her through the darkness. And as they stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, the diary lay open, a testament to the power of love and the enduring legacy of those who had come before. As I breathe in the damp air of the underground labyrinth, the sound of dripping water echoes through the passage, a steady heartbeat that seems to synchronize with my own racing pulse. Elias's hand brushes against mine, his touch a spark of reassurance in the darkness. We've been searching for what feels like an eternity, our footsteps quiet on the cold stone floor. The air is heavy with the scent of damp earth and decay, a primordial smell that speaks of secrets buried for centuries. The beam of our flashlight dances across ancient stones, illuminating the path ahead. Elias's eyes, locked on mine, shine with a mix of determination and fear. I can sense his thoughts, his worries about the Nazis closing in, about the device's power and the danger it poses. My heart aches with a mix of love and trepidation. We're so close to finding what we came for, yet the weight of the unknown presses down on us. The sound of scraping and scuttling grows louder, a low-pitched hum that seems to vibrate through the air. Elias's grip on my hand tightens as we turn a corner, and suddenly, the labyrinth opens up into a small, vaulted chamber. The ceiling disappears into darkness, and the walls are lined with ancient carvings, their intricate patterns worn by time. In the center of the room, on a pedestal of rough-hewn stone, lies the device, a small, metallic box adorned with cryptic symbols. Elias's breath catches in his throat as he approaches the pedestal. I follow, my senses on high alert. The air seems to vibrate with tension. As we reach out to claim the device, the sound of footsteps echoes through the labyrinth, growing louder with each passing moment. Elias's eyes meet mine, a flash of fear and urgency. The Nazis have found us. The sound of boots on stone grows louder, and I can feel the ground shaking beneath my feet. Elias swiftly pockets the device, his movements economical and precise. We have to move, and fast. The labyrinth seems to shrink around us, the walls closing in as the enemy draws near. A burst of gunfire shatters the silence, and Elias pushes me toward a narrow passageway. "Go," he mouths, his eyes locked on mine. I hesitate, but he gives me a gentle shove. I sprint down the passage, the sound of gunfire and shouting growing fainter. As I run, the darkness seems to coalesce around me, a living, breathing entity that wraps itself around my heart. I'm aware of Elias's presence behind me, his labored breathing, his footsteps slower and more labored. I dare not look back. The passage twists and turns, and I'm disoriented, but I press on, driven by fear and adrenaline. A hand closes around my ankle, pulling me back. I land hard on the stone floor, the wind knocked out of me. "Elias. Elias." I whisper, scrambling to my knees. He looks up at me, a faint smile on his lips. "I'm sorry, Aurora. I'm so sorry it had to end like this." I shake my head, tears streaming down my face. "No, no, no." With a Herculean effort, Elias pushes himself up, his eyes locked on mine. He presses the device into my hands. "You have to go. You have to keep it safe." I cling to him, my body shaking with sobs. "I won't leave you. I won't." Elias's voice is barely audible. "You have to. For us, for our love, for the future. I'll hold them off. Go, Aurora." The sound of footsteps grows louder, the voices of the Nazi agents closing in. Elias's eyes, filled with a deep sadness and a profound love, are the last thing I see before I turn and flee into the darkness, the device clutched to my chest. The labyrinth seems to stretch on forever, a twisting, turning nightmare from which I may never awaken. I can feel Elias's sacrifice weighing me down, his love and loss propelling me forward. The device, a tangible symbol of our love and his ultimate sacrifice, seems to burn with an inner fire, a reminder of the burden I now carry. As I stumble through the darkness, the silence is oppressive, punctuated only by my ragged breathing and the sound of my own heart, beating out a rhythm of grief and determination. I emerge into the cool night air, gasping, my eyes streaming with tears. The world outside seems bright and cruel, a jarring contrast to the darkness I've left behind. I look down at the device, now a part of me, a part of my story. I know that I'll carry Elias's love and sacrifice with me for the rest of my life, that their memory will guide me through the trials to come. In this moment, I understand that our love has changed me, transformed me from a passive observer of life into an active participant. The diary, which I've kept hidden for so long, will become my testament, a record of our love and Elias's sacrifice. I'll carry his legacy with me always, a reminder of the power of love to transcend even death itself. The stars above twinkle like ice chips in a dark sea. I take a deep breath, feeling the weight of my new reality settle around me. I know that I'll never be the same, that Elias's sacrifice has given me a new purpose. I'll carry him, and our love, with me always, a beacon in the darkness, guiding me through the trials to come. As I emerged from the labyrinth, the chill of the night air slapped me awake, a stark contrast to the warmth of Elias's presence that had been my solace just moments before. The rain-soaked world around me seemed to blur into a grayish haze, a reflection of the turmoil brewing inside. My legs trembled beneath me, as if the weight of the world had settled upon them, threatening to collapse at any moment. The artifact, now a bittersweet reminder of Elias's sacrifice, felt heavy in my hands, its smooth surface a stark contrast to the turmoil churning within. The walk home was a blur, my senses dulled by the overwhelming grief that had taken up residence in my chest. Tears streamed down my face, mixing with the rain, as I replayed Elias's final moments in my mind. The sound of raindrops hitting the pavement was a relentless drumbeat, echoing the ache in my heart. I felt like I was walking through a nightmare, unable to wake up, with Elias's laughter and smile taunting me, a bittersweet memory that I clung to. As I stepped into our home, the familiar warmth and light seemed to mock me, a cruel reminder of the life I was supposed to return to. My family, oblivious to the storm raging inside me, welcomed me with open arms, concern etched on their faces. But I couldn't bring myself to meet their gazes, couldn't find the words to express the depth of my pain. I felt like an imposter, trapped in a life that wasn't mine. The days that followed were a haze of forced smiles and pretend laughter, as I struggled to maintain a facade of normalcy. My parents and siblings noticed the change in me, but I couldn't explain the chasm that had opened up inside. They attributed my distant demeanor to the shock of Elias's death, an accident they'd been told. But I knew the truth, and it was a burden I carried alone. The diary, now my sole confidant, became my refuge. I poured my heart onto its pages, reliving the moments with Elias, rereading his notes and studying the artifact. The more I learned, the more I realized the magnitude of his sacrifice and the responsibility that now rested on my shoulders. A sense of purpose began to stir within me, a nascent resolve to honor Elias's memory and fulfill his mission. In the quiet hours of the night, I'd slip into the local library, surrounded by dusty tomes and flickering fluorescent lights. The musty smell of old books and the silence were a balm to my soul. I'd immerse myself in texts on cryptography and history, trying to decipher the mysteries of the artifact. Elias's notes were cryptic, but they spoke of a greater purpose, one that transcended the war and its devastation. As I pored over the pages, a sense of determination began to solidify within me. I started to see the world through Elias's eyes, a world where love and sacrifice could change the course of history. The artifact, once a symbol of loss, began to represent a beacon of hope. I knew I had a long journey ahead, one that would take me into the unknown, but I was no longer alone. Elias's legacy lived within me, guiding me, urging me forward. The library's silence was a sanctuary, but even there, the shadows of my grief lingered. My eyes would well up with tears as I read, the pain of loss still raw, but it was in these moments of solitude that I found the strength to carry on. The diary, Elias's words, and the artifact had become my lifeline, a reminder of the love we'd shared and the mission we'd embarked upon together. The world outside seemed to move at a different pace, unaware of the turmoil and transformation brewing within me. But I knew I couldn't stay hidden forever. The time would come when I'd have to emerge, to take the first steps on a path that would lead me into the very heart of danger and uncertainty. And when that moment arrived, I vowed to be ready, armed with the love and legacy of the man who had changed my life forever. As I stepped off the train and into the bustling city, the cacophony of sounds and the sea of faces enveloped me, a stark contrast to the tranquil life I'd left behind in Willow Creek. The city was alive, pulsing with an energy that seemed to reverberate through every cell of my being. I felt small, yet strangely exhilarated, as I made my way through the crowded station. The modest apartment I had found, a tiny haven in a boarding house, was a far cry from the spacious rooms of my childhood home. Yet, it was mine, a place where I could retreat from the world and pore over the relics of Elias's legacy. The diary, now my most treasured possession, lay open on the small wooden desk, its pages dog-eared and worn from countless readings. Elias's words, penned in haste and love, guided me through the labyrinthine corridors of cryptography and intelligence. I devoured texts on codes and ciphers, determined to unlock the secrets of the artifact. Libraries became my sanctuary, their musty smell and hushed tones a balm to my soul. I spent hours poring over dusty tomes, my fingers tracing the lines of code, as I sought to understand the true power of the device. It wasn't just a tool for encryption, it was a key to deciphering enemy communications, predicting strategic movements, and potentially turning the tide of the war. The weight of this realization settled upon me like a mantle, and I knew I had to master it. I recall one particularly grueling session at the library, where I spent hours transcribing a complex code. My hand cramped, and my eyes ached, but Elias's words echoed in my mind, "The truth is hidden in plain sight, you just need to know where to look." I took a deep breath, refocused, and continued, the code slowly yielding its secrets to me. As I immersed myself in this new world, I began to notice the little things, the way people interacted in public, the subtle dance of espionage that played out on city streets. I learned to observe without being seen, to listen without being heard. A whispered conversation on a bus, a furtive glance in a cafe, became vital intelligence, piecing together the mosaic of enemy movements. I practiced my skills in crowded places, weaving through throngs of people, testing my ability to remain unnoticed. The city, once overwhelming, became my playground, a place where I could blend in and disappear. My senses grew acute. I could pick up the faint scent of cigarette smoke on a stranger's coat, indicating a recent encounter with a suspicious individual. I began to assemble a network of contacts, people who, unwittingly or not, fed me information. A vendor at the market, an old man with a kind face, would occasionally share snippets of gossip. A fellow passenger on the train might mention a rumor or a sighting. These fragments, seemingly insignificant on their own, formed a larger picture when viewed through the lens of Elias's diary. But with growth came danger. I recall one evening, walking home from the library, I noticed a figure lingering in the shadows. My heart quickened. I crossed the street, merging with the crowd. The figure followed, keeping a safe distance. I led them on a merry chase, dodging alleys and side streets, until I finally lost them in the labyrinthine backstreets. Breathless and shaken, I realized the Nazi threat was far from over. They were still searching for the artifact, and I was their only lead. The solitude was a heavy burden, one I carried with a mix of sadness and determination. Elias's memory was my solace, a bittersweet reminder of what I'd lost and what I'd gained. I often found myself talking to him, sharing my fears and triumphs, as if he were still with me. The artifact, now a tangible connection to him, pulsed with a silent power, urging me forward. In those quiet moments, when the city outside receded, and it was just me and the shadows, I felt Elias's presence. His love had become a beacon, illuminating the path ahead, guiding me through the darkest corners of my own heart. I knew I was no longer the same girl who'd left Willow Creek. I was becoming something more, a guardian of secrets, a seeker of truth, and a force, however small, against the darkness. As I sat in my small apartment, surrounded by papers, books, and the soft glow of a single lamp, I felt a sense of purpose settle over me. The journey ahead was fraught with peril, but I was no longer alone. Elias's legacy lived within me, a burning fire that fueled my every move. I was ready to face whatever came next, armed with nothing but my wits, the artifact, and the enduring power of love. The city outside seemed to hum in agreement, its lights twinkling like stars in the night sky, as I embarked on this journey, a secret keeper, a seeker of truth, and a force to be reckoned with. As the war raged on, Aurora's determination only grew stronger. With the artifact in hand, she joined a secret network of codebreakers and intelligence operatives, working tirelessly to transmit crucial information to the Allied forces. Her role was that of a cryptographer, deciphering enemy communications and providing vital intel that would change the course of battles. I recall the stories she shared with me, her eyes sparkling as she described the thrill of outsmarting the enemy. The artifact, once a mysterious relic, had become an extension of herself, a tool she wielded with precision and skill. Her work was clandestine, but its impact was monumental. She spoke of the satisfaction she felt with each successful transmission, each frustrated enemy plan, and each strategic victory. The memories of those days were etched on her face, a map of lines and creases that told a story of their own. Her laughter, when recalling those moments, was like a warm breeze on a summer day. It brought comfort and peace. The artifact, now a trusted companion, seemed to hum with a quiet power, as if it too felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. The war finally came to an end, bringing with it a sense of relief that was almost palpable. Aurora felt the weight of her mission lifting, like a bird taking flight after years in captivity. She had done her part, and the world was a different place because of it. In the aftermath, Aurora sought a new beginning. She returned to Willow Creek, the small town where her journey had first begun. The rolling hills and familiar streets welcomed her back with open arms. She settled into a cozy little house on the outskirts of town, surrounded by the quiet beauty of nature. As she settled into her new life, Aurora found solace in simplicity. She dedicated herself to helping others, volunteering at the local library and teaching children about cryptography and coding. Her experiences had given her a unique perspective, and she used it to inspire and educate. The artifact, now a cherished symbol of her past, was carefully stored in a beautiful music box, its melodies a reminder of the love and loss that had shaped her. Years passed, and Aurora grew into the wise, loving grandmother I knew. Her eyes, once bright with a sense of danger and urgency, now shone with a warm, gentle light. Her laughter was a soothing balm, and her stories a window into a world of adventure and bravery. As I look back, I realize that my grandmother's life was not as simple as it seemed. The diary, now in my hands, reveals the depth of her character, a woman of extraordinary experiences, profound sacrifices, and enduring love. Her legacy is one of resilience, a testament to the power of the human spirit. I remember afternoons spent in her garden, surrounded by the scent of roses and the sound of children's laughter. She'd tell me stories of Elias, of the artifact, and of the war. Her voice was a gentle breeze on a summer day, carrying the whispers of the past into the present. The music box, with the artifact safely inside, sat on her mantel, a reminder of the journey that had brought her to this place. Its melodies were a lullaby, a soothing serenade that seemed to whisper, "You are loved, and your story will live on." As I grew older, I came to understand the true extent of her sacrifices. The weight of her secrets, the burden of her legacy, it was a heavy load to carry. But she carried it with grace, and in doing so, transformed her experiences into a gift for those around her. In her eyes, I saw a deep wisdom, a sense of peace that comes from living a life of purpose. Her story, now mine to tell, is a testament to the enduring power of love and the human spirit. As I close this chapter, I feel a sense of gratitude for the woman who shaped my life, and for the secrets she shared with me, revealing the extraordinary life of Grandma Aurora. As I sit here, surrounded by the familiar comforts of home, I find myself lost in the pages of Grandma Aurora's diary. The worn leather cover, the yellowed paper, and the handwritten words all seem to whisper secrets of a life I thought I knew, yet somehow didn't. Reading through her story, I'm struck by the realization that the woman I called Grandma was so much more than the loving, kind-hearted soul I adored. She was a hero, a cryptographer, a spy, and a woman whose life was woven with threads of danger, love, and sacrifice. I recall the countless hours she spent with me, sharing tales of her childhood in Willow Creek. Stories of fairies and heroes, of magical forests and daring quests. I now understand that these weren't just quaint, fantastical tales, they were metaphors for her own life. The fairies were the cryptographers, working in secret, their messages hidden in plain sight. The heroes were the brave men and women who risked everything for the sake of freedom. And the magical forests? Those were the labyrinthine paths she navigated, avoiding danger at every turn. As I reflect on her legacy, I realize it's not just about the artifact, the device, or the secrets she kept. It's about the silent strength she embodied, the wisdom she shared through her stories, and the unconditional love she showed to everyone around her. Her life was a tapestry of complexity and beauty, woven with moments of joy, sorrow, and courage. I see parallels between her struggles and mine, between her triumphs and my own. Her story has been a guiding light, illuminating my own path and giving me the courage to face my challenges. I remember the times I felt lost or uncertain, and how her stories, her laughter, and her love helped me find my way. Now, I understand that her legacy is not just something to be remembered, it's something to be lived. The diary has become a personal treasure, a guide that I return to often. It's a reminder that life is full of hidden stories, stories that we often don't share, stories that we keep locked away, even from those closest to us. But it's these stories, these secrets, that make us who we are. They are the threads that weave our tapestries, the melodies that fill our hearts. As I look back, I realize that I was given a gift, not just the diary, but the understanding that our lives are interconnected, that our stories are intertwined. Grandma Aurora's story has shown me that even in the darkest times, there is always hope, always a way forward. It's a message I want to share with others, a message of resilience, of love, and of the power of the human spirit. In the quiet moments, when the world outside fades away, I feel Grandma Aurora's presence. I feel her love, her wisdom, and her guidance. I know that I'm not alone, that I'm part of a larger narrative, one that transcends generations and time. Her story has given me a deeper understanding of life, of courage, and of the complexities that make us human. As I close this chapter, I'm filled with a sense of peace, a sense of resolution. I know that I've been given a responsibility, a duty to carry forward Grandma Aurora's legacy. It's a legacy that whispers to me, and to all who will listen, that our stories, our secrets, and our lives are worth sharing. they are worth remembering. They are worth living. In the end, it's not just about Grandma Aurora's hidden diary, it's about the hidden stories we all carry. It's about the love, the sacrifice, and the courage that define us. It's about the power of our stories to inspire, to heal, and to connect us. As I look into the camera, I want to say that I see you, I hear you, and I understand you. Your story, like mine, is worth telling. Your secrets, like Grandma Aurora's, are worth sharing. And your legacy, like hers, will live on, a testament to the enduring power of love and the human spirit. As I sit here, reflecting on Grandma Aurora's story, I'm reminded of the profound impact one person can have on the lives of those around them. Her life was a testament to the enduring power of love, sacrifice, and resilience in the face of adversity. Through her journey, we see the transformative power of courage, the depth of human emotion, and the importance of legacy. Grandma Aurora's story began in the rolling hills of Willow Creek, where her love for reading and exploration was kindled. It was there that she met Elias, a man with a mysterious past, and their relationship became a beacon of hope and danger in a world torn apart by war. As she navigated the treacherous landscape of espionage and cryptography, Aurora's strength and determination inspired those around her. The discovery of her hidden diary was a turning point, revealing a life that was far more complex than anyone could have imagined. It was a reminder that even in the quietest of lives, there lies a depth of experience and emotion that can inspire and challenge us. As I look back on her story, I'm struck by the realization that the lessons she learned, the love she shared, and the secrets she kept, were all part of a larger narrative. One that continues to unfold through the lives of those she touched. If her story has resonated with you, then I know that its purpose has been fulfilled. It's a reminder that our experiences, our triumphs, and our struggles are all part of a larger tapestry. One that we can choose to share, to inspire, and to connect with others. As you reflect on Grandma Aurora's journey, I invite you to consider the power of your own story. What secrets do you think she held dearest to her heart? What lessons can you apply to your own life? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please, leave a comment below. If you've been inspired by Grandma Aurora's story, I encourage you to like, subscribe to our channel, and share this video with someone who might appreciate its message. By doing so, you'll be helping to keep her legacy alive, and inspiring others to reflect on the power of their own stories. As we close this chapter on Grandma Aurora's story, I want to leave you with a sense of hope and optimism. Remember that every life has a story worth telling, and every story has the power to inspire and transform. Take a moment to look around you, to appreciate the people, the experiences, and the lessons that make your life richer. And when you're ready, share your own story. You can do so by commenting below, or by sharing your own experiences on social media using the hashtag Grandma Aurora's story. Let's keep the conversation going, and let's continue to inspire each other with the power of our stories. In the words of Grandma Aurora, the greatest stories are those that are shared, not those that are kept hidden. For in sharing, we find connection, and in connection, we find strength. Take a deep breath, reflect on your own story, and let the power of love, sacrifice, and resilience guide you forward. As the music swells, and the memories of Grandma Aurora's story fade into the distance, I want to leave you with one final thought. What will you do with the stories that have been shared with you? How will you carry the lessons of Grandma Aurora's life forward? The answer, much like the story itself, is yours to write. Now, I'd love to see your thoughts, your reflections, and your own stories. Please, join the conversation, and let's keep the legacy of Grandma Aurora alive. Like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear her story. And as you go about your day, remember the power of love, the strength of the human spirit, and the enduring legacy of Grandma Aurora's story. The story may be ending, but its impact will be felt for years to come. So, let's keep the conversation going. Share your thoughts, and let's inspire each other to live, to love, and to share our stories with the world.